Hello, everybody. Welcome to the HSS Coaches Chat. I am Coach Ben here with Cathy, Wysin. Cathy, how you doing?
I'm good.
Feels like old times.
Oh my gosh, it's like we never left.
We have never left. This is what we're here for, folks. We are a scant 11 days out from the TCS New York City Marathon, and more importantly, 10 days out, or maybe not, 10 days out from the Abbott Dash to the Finish 5K. We have runners out there probably doing both. I think you're doing the... Or should we say anything, or should we keep it quiet?
We'll keep it quiet. No, we can say it. I'm only running the 5K this year.
Love it.
No marathon, but I will be on the course at 66 and first.
There you
so
go.
if you run by me, we will throw pom-poms at you. Because
actually,
that's what we have.
I will say that something cheering the marathon may be harder than running the marathon. It's a longer day.
You literally you're out there as long as the marathoners, and sometimes I feel like you're putting on 26.2 miles to try and find your runner. And there's a lot of prep. You need cheering gear. You need posters and markers and pom-poms and glitter, all of which I bought yesterday. So
wow, you are prepared.
I'm preparing. I'm preparing just like the runners are preparing.
You support like 110%. You are hardcore in your support.
Absolutely. I have a cheer bag.
Oh, runners, you're going to be at 66 and first?
66 and first.
Okay, look
on
for
the left side.
Runner left, you'll have it out there. Put your number in the... I have to give a shout out. The TCS New York City Marathon app is available and live in both the App Store and the Google Play Store. Go get it. Put everybody in there. You can actually track your runners by charity this year. I think it's amazing. So you can check it by the runner name, ITO if they're an international tour operator, and by charity. So you never know. I think it's going to be so long. You have more people tracking than maybe actually in the race.
And if you put your name on your bib, we will cheer for you. We will yell out your name.
Okay, you know what? We're going to give that. I'm going to drop it in now. We want your questions. We want your shout outs. Let us know where you're listening from. And let's put that out there. Hot take of the day, name on shirt, yes or no. I am in the no category. What category are you in?
Well, I never put my name on my shirt. But some people like to because, you know, as a spectator, if you see someone with their name on your shirt, you're likely to yell out their name. Sometimes people really find that encouraging. I've gotten girl with the purple shirt. I'm like, I'll take it. But, you know. Little tidbits.
I will say, if your name is on your shirt and you're having an amazing day, it is the best thing to hear your name over and over again. If you're having maybe not the best day, hearing it over and over again.
Don't yell my name.
It's like just you can't cover it up enough. The bib can't go high enough. But a hot take of the day: name on the shirt, yes or no. We want to know what your thoughts are. There'll be a poll on that later. We have a lot of questions, so drop in where you're listening from, questions you may have. But I know we are. I said 11 days out, Cathy. I mean, as a physical therapist, you've probably heard. Have you had anybody come in the last, 24 hours saying, heal thyself, help my knee feel better, my hip?
I mean, personally, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been in, especially with some of those longest runs. Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I'm sure people are kind of sore and achy, and there's also a lot of time to think right now. 10 to 11 days before the race. So
lots of thinking, you're in taper. And I think, and let's talk about that. There's the physical side of getting myself ready, but I mean, you're a physical, and we'll emphasize the therapist because you're maybe not the right way to look at it, but it's true. I mean, as a coach, I talk to a lot of runners, anyone doing their first marathon. And if your first marathon is the TCS New York City Marathon, you pick the right one, it's going to be an amazing day, but there's a lot that goes into it. So it's tough to quantify, but experiencing. Talk about like the top 3 things that a runner is going to be experiencing between now.
I think there's probably going to be a lot of nerves, a lot of anxiety. New York City was my first marathon many moons ago, and I remember I didn't really know what to expect. There's a lot of doubt, like, am I actually going to be able to do this? You're kind of nervous. You don't really know what to expect. And I think you start to question yourself, like, did I do enough with my training? Should I have done one more run? You kind of start to analyze everything. And I think the other hard part right now is that you're in this taper period, so you're not running as much. You've got a lot more time to think, and you kind of might be spiraling a little bit. Did I really do enough to get ready? But, I think you really have to trust yourself, trust your training. Runners are training for 12, 16, 20 weeks, maybe even more in some instances, and you've stuck to your training plan. And right now it's just about kind of calming yourself, getting some rest, kind of visualizing yourself at the start line, visualizing the race, and just really kind of trusting your training right now, and lots of rest.
Lots of rest. I mean, you mentioned that because I think runners put a lot of stake into a single workout, a single mile, and you have to look at the whole. I really encourage runners, you have to look at, to your point, 12, 16, 20 weeks. Not one run is going to make or break how you're going to perform on race day. It's not indicative of the process. Yes, every runner, and I'm sure you've been there, you want every run to go well, you want to hit all your pace targets, nothing goes wrong. But I always say if something doesn't go to plan, you're actually learning probably how that's going to help on race day, right?
Right. I mean, in all the marathons I've run, I've missed runs. I haven't wanted to go out. The weather's crappy. I'm supposed to run 18. I run 14. I'm like, it just happens. Like, no training is going to be perfect. There's going to be bumps along the road, but the goal is to kind of really respect the training. Don't try to make up a run at this point. Respect the taper and just trust that you're going to get through it, and set some realistic goals for race day. And you can absolutely do it. But I think a lot of people are going to be a little nervous right now, especially if this is like their first. Especially their first marathon, they're not really sure what to expect, but it's going to be fine.
They say, use the word analyze. I'll use the term. I'll be more blunt. Overthink. Let's be honest. You think about everything.
Oh, absoltly.
Every little thing you did, everything you did. Should I have done this? Should I have done that differently? Should I take 4 gels, 5 gels? Should I get this early, that early? You've done it. The haze in the barn. You can't go back and change what you did back in August, September, even back early October. You are where you are today. We'll say the hard part in terms of the training is over, so get yourself ready. But again, some runners, we all are feeling some discomfort emotionally, spiritually, mentally, all the things.
All of the above.
All of the things. Again, I mean, you can touch on it. If you're having discomfort, and we'll stick to more the physical side, and we have a lot of questions that came in off of our social that we'll be touching on as well. So we'll talk about it here a little bit. What are some high-level things to think about? Not necessarily next steps, but I got some discomfort. Good, bad, indifferent. Talk about more acute as opposed to just discomfort.
Yeah, I think in general, you're probably going to be sore right now. You're going to be fatigued. You're going to be achy. You just trained for months. I mean, you are just coming off some of your longest runs over the past week or two. I have a very good friend who's training right now, and I've joined her for some of those long runs, just a couple miles. But I think the point of this is you've done a lot of hard work, and your body is going to be sore. You're going to be fatigued. You're thinking about these people, you're working all day, and marathon training is really a full-time job. If you really ask my opinion. So I think generally as you come off this taper period, you're going to be sore and kind of fatigued. Your muscles in your body need time to heal and recover. So the whole purpose of the taper period is to really give yourself some recovery leading up to race day. So expect to be sore, kind of that dull, sore, kind of just fatigued. Oh, I can't even think about going out and doing any more long runs. Well, you shouldn't be at this point. I think on the flip side of this, if you're having really acute, sharp pain where you're moving differently, you're walking differently, you're limping. I use the stairs as a big one. You have to go one step at a time up the stairs. You can't do your day-to-day functional things like you normally could. Then there could be something else going on, not saying that there is, but I think in that instance, you may kind of want to not do any runs or anything for the next couple days. We always say give yourself 3 to 5 days of rest, no activity, ice, and see if that helps. If you're not really sure and you're still having pain and everything's kind of hampered, then you may want to get some eyes on you. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to run on race day, but I think those are the two big distinctions. You're going to be sore right now, but if the soreness or pain is impeding everyday life, then I think you do have to dial it back even more right now and take it easy.
I think if you're doing a 3-week taper, it's not uncommon to feel almost lethargic right now.
You're exhausted.
Yeah, because the body is kind of whoa, you asked a lot of me for this time period, whatever it was for my training. I need to repair, and so you're going to feel down. And so it's not uncommon, and it's happened to me, those last couple of workouts that you do, the last couple of long runs, you're like, wow, how am I going to do this? How
really
is my body going to snap
tiring.
into this?
Yeah, and I think also because you are tapering and running less, you have so much more time to overanalyze. Oh, this hurts. Is it something? Oh, this hurts. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with this muscle? So you have a lot more time to think. But in general, you are going to be a little sore and lethargic and fatigued right now. And this is the whole purpose of the taper, because if you kept hammering away these next 2 weeks, you're not going to be fresh and ready for race day. So really respect the taper and kind of come to terms. I am going to be a little sore and fatigued, and this is why you taper 2 to 3 weeks out.
Yeah, definitely take the time off your feet. And so again, we're looking at what we're 11 days out. There's the do's and the don'ts. So we'll start with the do's. You touched on a little bit before. What should runners really be doing from a more overall perspective to try to calm themselves and get themselves ideally as prepared as they can for November 3rd?
I think sleep is going to be a big important thing. Trying to get a good amount of sleep. Hydrating now, not just on race day. I think the big mistake we all make is we think the temperatures are a little cooler. We don't have to drink as much. You still have to. So staying hydrated now, getting good rest, still sticking to your training plan, whatever that is, during this taper period, and just resting, getting time off your feet so that you get to the start line. I always think it's good just to get to the start line healthy and kind of really respect these next 11 days. And if you've got some easy runs scheduled, go out and do them. If you are feeling really tired and achy and sore and lethargic, don't go out. Missing an easy 3-4 miles during the taper is not going to make or break your race. So I think, above everything, really listen to your body and take it easy these next 10, 11 days.
Yeah, exactly. Any extra rest is going to be a key to this point because, there's not one
I love
mile.
rest.
Rest is the best. Me in my bed and my couch, we are intimate very often. I would rather, I love being here, don't get me wrong, but man, I tell you, this morning was hard to get out of bed. It was a beautiful day. But again, we're all kind of in the same spot. We're all doing the work. Even the pros right now, they are taking it easy. They understand they have a job to do. They're going to they're going to tow the same 26.2 miles that all of us. I think is amazing. Don't forget that you get to run the same course that our pros are going to run. You're going to be out there. They may finish a little before the rest of us, but you get to run the same course, the same time, and they're doing all the same things. They got to get themselves ready to have the best experience, and they also, you touched on it, you want to get to the start line healthy, right? If you can do that, hopefully you can do everything else.
Yeah, I had someone tell me once, it's always better to be a little bit undertrained and get to the start line healthy than overtrain and try to just do one more run or try to push it, because trying to squeeze in more could impede you, not only having a good race, but actually getting to the start line healthy.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, what should runners not do? We touched on it a little bit, and we actually joked about it with Coach Jem, who's off camera. Like, don't cry right now because that will dehydrate you. So we don't want you want to be positive, feel good. No tears. You don't want to dehydrate yourself. Cathy's saying hydrate. So, but yeah, you touched on a little bit. Don't overdo it. What other things should runners not be doing?
Don't fight the urge to squeeze in one more run. Don't add in the extra run because you missed a run 5 weeks ago. If your training says 3 miles, don't try to do 5. I think you want to stay away from trying to do too much right now, because one of the biggest mistakes that runners make, and the most common cause of injuries, is we overdo it. So I think that is really the biggest thing here, is fight the urge to do more than what your training plan is, and don't cry, because that will dehydrate you.
It will dehydrate you for sure. Yeah, because the line between fitness and injury is razor thin. It's about as thick as that piece of paper, and once you cross it, unfortunately, there's no going back, and that's when the tears will flow.
Absolutely. So just respect the taper. Take it easy. Your legs and your body will thank you on race day.
100%. I think we got some questions and shout outs. We're tossing it over to the production team.
Yes, we have a lot of similar overlapping questions, so
Wow.
bear with me while we go through this. But first off, we want to shout out Anthony. He's running his first marathon, but he's dealing with some IT band pain after about 8 miles, and he really, really wants to run this race. Any advice for him?
Cathy,
You're
what do you
pointing
think?
to me. You can. IT band pain is a common overuse injury. A lot of factors that can go in. It's usually, potentially some people have cranked up their miles too soon, a little too quickly, not saying that you have. Sometimes it's mechanics, sometimes it's muscle imbalances. A lot of common things that can kind of facilitate and cause IT band pain, but not an uncommon thing to be feeling, probably especially at this point. So I think biggest thing you can do is probably scale back, rest, get some ice on there. Maybe if you have some easy runs coming up, I probably would maybe ease off and avoid them. You can try some foam rolling to the IT band, but I think your best bet, because this does tend to be an overuse injury, is to really kind of scale back and maybe cut out these next couple of easy runs. I had IT band issues years ago before the New York City half, and I did not run really the 3 weeks leading up to it. And it was probably the best decision that I could have made, because, I think for people who may be going through something like this, you've done all of the training. Going out and running right now with this nagging, irritating pain is not going to make you any faster, is not going to make you better, is probably only going to irritate the IT band. So I would really ease back, get some ice on there, some foam rolling, and just kind of lay low up to race day and have realistic goals. You may have to walk a little bit. Yep. You may have to slow your pace. You may not, if you're running for a goal, you may not be able to get there, but I think you can absolutely get to the start line, but I would ease back.
Yeah, and from a fitness perspective, you touched on it. You're not going to improve your aerobic capacity at this point. You want to be healthy, so yeah, kick it back. Sorry to hear about that, but hopefully over the next 11 days,
You've got time. It's 11 days. I would just dial it back right now.
What else we got?
And we also have a person who commented that they're finishing treatment for their hamstrings. I'd assume that you'd have similar advice, but if you have any specific for hamstrings.
On the hammies, the hammies are a fun one. Yeah.
That's another one I've had. Check. I think the same kind of rules apply here. You finish treatment, which is a huge plus. I'm assuming you're done with physical therapy, whatever the treatment is. Any kind of training or anything right now is kind of out the door at this point. I'm going to assume you probably have been training, and maybe this is something that came up and you sought treatment for, which is great. I would probably kind of lay low if you want to do a couple easy miles just to see how you feel. I think you got to go by feel, but I really do think if you want to get to the start line healthy, I would lay low, keep with whatever exercises and therapy you were given, and adjust your goals for race day. You may not be running as fast as you want. You may have to walk a little bit, but I think it's better to ease off and get to the start line on Sunday.
Yeah, I think plan A and plan B is probably anybody out there who has been maybe training hasn't gone to plan A and plan B. So you have options so you can keep your head in the game. I think sometimes when you enter the race, not quite at 100%, the mental side can play into the overall vibe of the race. And so having those plans to deviate from, as they say, plan A, plan B, plan C, whatever it may be, just adjust the goals. I think is a great look at it.
I mean, there's, and I'm sure you have. There's been many races where I've been sick, I've been injured, I didn't train, and the goal was always, you're not going to be as fast as you want. That PR, that goal time is kind of out the window. Not to say that it can't happen, but you do have to shift your goals. I'm going to run this many minutes and then walk, or I'm going to run to this mile and then walk, or there's no shame in walking. You're all going to cover 26.2 miles. It's a feat no matter how long it takes you. So I think just having that mindset and shifting your goals a little bit and, making your number one goal just getting to the start line healthy, I think is really what should be at the forefront.
And then goal 2 is getting to the cheer station that you're going to be at on First Avenue.
I'm on 66 and First with pom-poms.
Next question.
All right, what do I do if I get a side stitch halfway through the race?
The ever popular side stitch. I mean, I talked to a lot of people. Is it hydration? Is it potassium? Is it just life? I mean, there's always kind of weird things. And do you breathe? Do you breathe those things out?
I think a lot of time it's dehydration, to be honest. And this is kind of speculation on my part, but I think especially in these races where it's a little cooler, we may think that we don't have to drink as much because it's not 90 degrees out. I think the other mistake a lot of us make, and I do before, is we're not hydrating, leading up to the race. Getting plenty of electrolytes and fluids now is just as important on race day. So if you're not, drinking a lot of water or electrolytes now, you potentially could be dehydrated going into race day. So I think that tends to be what it is. It could be the fact that you've gone out too quickly too soon and you're kind of running out of gas. But I think the hydration is probably the bigger piece here, because I think for a lot of people it happens later in the race or mid-race, and then if you haven't really been hydrating, in the days to weeks leading up to the race, I think it's pretty common that it happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you touched on it. Usually when the race starts, you feel good. So you'll skip those first few water stations. I feel good right now. That will catch up with you. You really have the race planned. I'm taking water at every water stop or every other water stop. And then after this, every water stop. Don't deviate from that plan, even if you feel good, because that's when things can change.
Absolutely. And I think something for some of these people who have mentioned that they're kind of injured, they're not really sure. What I used to do, and I knew I wasn't going to be my best, I not only stopped at every water station, but that was my minute or minute and a half of walking. I walked the water station. I took my time drinking water or drinking Gatorade and then got moving. So maybe, make that your goal. I'm going to get to the next water station, but, take fluids, take water. Just because you feel good at mile 4, you think I don't need it, chances are you probably need something, because you are most likely going to pay for it later on.
100%. Yeah, because again, if you move away from your plan, you're already setting yourself up to have a problem later down the road. So stay with the plan. Those side stages are never fun. I've gotten them. It just never go away. It seems like it's
They're with you the whole way. But good luck.
What else you got for us?
All right. Well, massages has been a hot topic.
Oh.
Do you recommend massages before the marathon? If yes, what type and when?
So I would say if you have not ever gotten a pre-race massage, do not start now. Because what do we always say?
Nothing new on race day.
Right. So what I would first say is think back to when you did some of your longest runs, because that's kind of a dress rehearsal for the race day. If you didn't get a pre-race massage before your 18, 19, or 20 mile, now is not the time to test it out. Save your massage for after the race. If you've gotten pre-race massages, I think then it kind of shifts back to you, like what have you done with whoever you work with, what has worked, what are the problem areas. So I think that's going to be a person kind of preference. But if you've never gotten a pre-race massage, now is not the time to start, because you do not know how you're going to react and how you're going to feel after.
It's not uncommon. I talk to a lot of people. I mean, I've had massages years ago. It's almost like a soreness, because a good massage kind of works the toxins out a little bit. It actually will tax the muscle. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I feel sore. So you go to your massage on Friday or Saturday, and you would get up on Sunday morning, you're like, oh my gosh, my legs are dead. What's going on here? I should feel good. And you maybe don't.
Right. So save it for after the race if it's something you're interested in, or it's something you maybe test out later on down the road. But I would veer away from anything new right now.
Yeah, one of the great gifts I got to myself last year was those compression boots. Thank you, Coach Gemma, for the recommendation last year on the compression boots. So I bought them for myself last year, and they have been a saving grace after all my long runs. I come home 45 minutes in those bad boys, and they feel amazing. But to your point, I've been doing it all my training cycle. I did it during the spring when I was training for a marathon then, so I know what it's going to do. It's very important because, you don't want to – there's no reason to roll the dice now. You're so close to the start line.
Absolutely.
So, maybe another one we got?
All right. What are some of the easiest leg stretches to do before the marathon?
Oh, light stretching before.
So before the marathon, I would think probably more a dynamic stretching is going to be better. So for those of you who don't know, dynamic stretching is kind of moving. We think of skipping, high knees, butt kicks, lunges, anything where you're moving, as opposed to static stretching is when you're sedentary. So think of the old laying on your back and lifting the leg up with a strap and doing the hamstring stretch. That's more of a static stretch. So any type of pre-race stretching, we encourage dynamic stretching because it gets the body moving, promotes blood flow, circulation, and moves your joints and your muscles through motion to prepare you for a race day. So that would be what's recommended. I think I'm going to veer on the side of caution here. We probably all should be doing some type of dynamic stretching before our longer runs. If you haven't done any at all, I don't think they're really going to do any harm, but you also kind of want to get in a feel to make sure you tolerate them well. So if you've done some dynamic stretching in the past before your long runs, I would definitely be doing that before the race. If not, my recommendation would be 35 to 45 minutes before you're ready to go, get up, start moving, some light jogging. There's a ton of room in the start area. Find an open area, do some light jogging just to get yourself warmed up.
And that's just it. I mean, you touched on it. I mean, at Fort Wadsworth, there's going to be 50,000 people getting ready to run this race, and you'll see and hear a lot of conversations and people doing things, and it's not uncommon to be like, oh, well, I see them running, I see them doing it. Maybe I should do that real quick. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And you've never done it before. Yeah. And you never know how it's going to feel. So I think it's tough sometimes because especially for new marathoners, it's the first time, this is all new to them.
Absolutely.
And even if you've done it 5 times, you're like, every time I've never done this, I'm going to do it today because they're doing it, and my past 4 marathons have not gone the way I want to, so I'm going to do it today.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best idea.
Right. And everybody's got something different that works for them. So I always tell people, you saw something new, you saw something cool. I saw this person do that. Should I do it? Maybe, but not necessarily. I think you've really got to stick to what you were doing before your long runs, that kind of dress rehearsal. If you've never done any kind of stretching or anything like that before, just get up and get moving before it's time to get to your corral. I usually find an area, do some jogging back and forth just to get warm, and that's really it. And stick with what you know and what's been working for you.
And get in the bathroom line twice.
Yes.
Go to the bathroom and get back in line again. One more question, then we'll move forward.
We can save it for the next segment.
We said for the next one, we will move forward because, again, I know we have a lot of questions. Remember the hot take, name on the shirt or not? I have my thoughts on it because, again, I've had both experiences. But, hey, folks, we'll keep it going if they come in or not. But we have race day hurdles, not a figurative, literal. I mean, just not a literal, hopefully
They're
not.
like, please don't put hurdles along the course that I have to jump over.
We are not doing the steeplechase on First Avenue. You never know. It's not, hopefully not, because we don't want to do that. But, again, I mean, unfortunately, it maybe just not your day. And I having the benefit of working with a lot of runners here in the New York City area and outside the New York City area, I get to have a lot of contact, and then you talk to runners afterward about their race day experience, and you hear the whole gamut, good, bad, and indifferent. But if during the race, things happen. It's 26.2 miles. Things are going to happen whether you plan for them or not. You get discomfort. Pain does happen. Hopefully you can avoid it, but if you can't, during the race, if a runner feels we'll start with discomfort, and let's kind of decide, in the race, we talked about a side stitch. What can they do to kind of work through those rough patches?
Yeah, I think most people are going to have those rough patches. They're going to have some discomfort. You get into those later miles. I say usually miles 18 on, you hit the wall, you're...
6 on. Hopefully not.
Don't scare people. But I think on those later miles, you're probably going to be sore. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be fatigued. You've been out there for however much time at that point. So, kind of expect that and realize that's normal. So if you are starting to get a little sore, a little achy, a little tight, slow down to a walk. Yep. Come off to the side. Do some stretching. Walk. Stop, make sure you get some hydration, take nutrition, whatever it is that's worked for you. So I think for most people that's going to happen. There's no shame in having to stop and walk a little bit and stop and do a little bit of stretching. If you have to stop at a medical tent, you need hydration, whatever, that's fine too. But I think you are going to feel some discomfort as you get into those later miles. The second half of the course is a little bit harder. The bridges and whatnot, and you're also fatigued. So I think you should expect that. Yep. But I think if it's discomfort and it's not altering how you're running, how you're moving, you're not limping, you're just kind of running out of gas or getting achy, slow down, walk a little bit, stretch, get some fluid in you, and then, kind of assess and see how you feel. That's kind of what I would do.
Yeah, you always say, the marathon pace is not hard, until it's hard, and then it gets very hard. And holding that pace for 26 miles can be very uncomfortable.
Right. I mean, we all hear people hit the wall when they get, 18, 19, 20 miles. I mean, I've hit the wall many times, and you just kind of feel like you can't keep going, and you're sore, and then, oh my gosh, everything hurts. But the big distinction here is it's not changing how you're moving. You're sore, you're achy, you're stiff, you're going to be. But I don't have sharp stabbing pain. I can still keep moving. I'm just achy.
And every mile from 3 to 25, we have our medical tents, trained professionals will be there. So we have pain. You're having, something doesn't feel right and it's not normal and you're concerned. Definitely dip into a medical tent at this point.
Absolutely. I think if it's sharp pain, it's sudden, you hear, a pop, you feel like your leg's going to give out on you. You're limping, you're hobbling.
Lightheaded, any of those things.
Lightheaded, you feel disoriented. Those are things where you absolutely, want to seek help, get to a medical tent, get to staff, police, anybody who's on the side and seek attention. Those are instances where you don't want to keep going. Maybe it ends up being nothing and you can still keep going, but those are times when you absolutely want to get some medical attention. And there's no shame in that. If you're not sure, seek medical attention. It's better to, find out that it's nothing than potentially try to keep pushing through something like that.
And I will let people know, I ran a marathon in the spring. It was a very warm, actually we'll call it a hot day. The medical team, they want you to finish. They want to get you back on course. If they feel that it is in your best interest to not, they will tell you that. But if they say, hey, just give it a moment, you may be there for a half hour, you may be there for 45 minutes, and they can make sure that you're stable and they feel comfortable. Ultimately, they want to get you back out on course.
Absolutely. I was had a stomach bug in Chicago many, many years ago, and I stopped at the medical tent, and I was in there for 30 minutes. Was it a bummer because I was, running for a PR? Absolutely. But to your point, they wanted me to get back out there. They did not want me to not finish, so I sat. Kind of relaxed, calm things down, and then on your way. So, it's always better to stop if something's really bothering you, you're not feeling well, and, their goal is to get you back out there if it's appropriate and safe.
Yeah, don't think that they're going to pull you off the course and stop you. That's not what they want to do. They're ultimately there to support and help us, and I thank all of our volunteers, our medical volunteers. Without them, these events do not happen, and we don't have the experience that we do. So we talked about walking during the race. Let's talk about after the race. I just ran 26.2 miles. We, as coaches, affectionately call this mile 27. But after the race, it's best, we tell people, walk, because recovery begins the minute you're done with this lovely event that you decided was a good idea at some point in the last 12 months. I'm going to run a marathon. That'd be a good idea. Now you're like, I'm running a marathon. You did it. You're done. But you've come through. You got a lot of people behind you. but recovery begins. Why is this so important? What's happening physiologically that walking is really the key as opposed to just sitting down?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna want to plop down and sit.
Right there.
But I guarantee you're gonna get down and you're not going to be able to get up. So honestly, keep moving. Moving keeps blood circulating. It keeps muscles firing, helps to flush out some of those toxins, helps prevent that stiffness. You're going to be sore, you're going to be uncomfortable, but honestly, your body is going to thank you if you keep moving. You also want to start to get, some fluids in you, some electrolytes. You've just ran 26.2 miles, so you're most likely going to be dehydrated. Your glycogen stores, everything is just going to be depleted. So you want to get some fluids and electrolytes in you. You want to get some carbs, some protein in you. You don't have to stuff yourself with a full meal, but you want to start to replenish and you want to keep moving. Everybody loves a post-race beer. I sure do.
Hydration's important, we'll say.
But keep in mind that alcohol is also going to dehydrate you.
Yeah.
So get some water, some Gatorade in you. If you're going to have your post-race beer, which I usually have many of them, be drinking lots of fluids as well. But I think it's really important to get some fuel and some hydration in you and just really keep moving.
And then from a blood flow perspective, you don't realize that your body's moving blood continuously. Your heart is working very hard. Now your body is stopped. The pulse rate's coming down. The blood flow changes, a bit, and that's why it's not uncommon to feel a little bit lightheaded or a little bit off in a moment as you come across, right?
Yeah, and I think adrenaline's running high. Oh. You're in the park. You're going to finish, so you're kind of coming off this huge high, and now you're going to come down off of it. So the thought is like, I just kind of want to sit and not move, but it really is so important. From a physiological stance, from a physical stance, to keep going. When you get back to your room, apartment, wherever it is, then you can kind of sit down and relax, because getting a good night's sleep and getting off your feet is going to be just important. But immediately after, think of it as like a cool down. I really want to keep moving. And again, your body's actually going to thank you for it.
It really will. And that recovery begins, and more important, like you said, you want to celebrate when you're done. So make sure you have your post-race plan and meetup place determined before you finish that race, because that cell phone.
That is the most important thing of the day.
I don't know, but I try to send a text message to my wife, hey, I'm done, and it just doesn't ever go. And I'm like, where are you? Mm-hmm. And you've already run 26 miles. You don't want to walk another 7 or 8 in Midtown Manhattan trying to find your loved ones.
Yeah, pick a plan, pick where you're going to meet. I always used to have a meeting spot with my family. We met there. Sometimes Dad wandered off, and then we had to go find him because he doesn't realize that it's another mile to walk after. And he's like, I got worried about you. Where are you? And I'm like waddling down the street. But I think the point of this is, pick a place to meet everybody, have a plan what you want to do. It's going to be busy. It's going to be chaotic. There's going to be huge celebrations, but, plan where you want to meet family, have a plan for after where you want to go. Absolutely celebrate, but just kind of keep moving.
And don't forget, and we do fall back, that we do lose that hour, so it will get darker very early. A lot of people are going to be wearing the lovely orange ponchos that every runner will get, so it'll be like a sea of orange. So making sure, hey, I'm wearing the orange poncho. That's not helping your family find you. I have a medal around my neck. So does everyone else around you. So make sure they know where you're going to be, and more importantly, where they're going to be, because, as Cathy said, you don't want to be wandering around trying to find the fam. Because you had it. And the medal, we always joke, you should wear it for at least a week, right? Minimum?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say if you've never been to New York City, you don't know the area, come up, find the finish line, familiarize yourself with the area, maybe pick a spot. We always used to meet kind of by Columbus Circle or a little bit south of there, kind of get away from the crowds.
Yes.
We had a go-to spot. We're going to meet on this corner. We're going to meet in front of this restaurant. So, pick a place and kind of stick with that. And, as I would tell my family, you're going to hear when I cross the finish line, I'm not going to magically appear from the crowds. It's
in the orange poncho?
No, it's probably going to be sometimes a good 45 minutes to an hour because you keep walking, you get your recovery bag, your poncho, and then you've got to walk all the way back down. So there is going to be some time between when you finish and you meet up with them, but definitely have a post-race plan in place.
And another shameless plug for the app. If you haven't already downloaded it during the recording here, or if you're watching us live, go get it, because there actually is a timing mat when runners leave on 72nd to go on Central Park West. So not only will your family know when you finish, then they will know when you actually exit back on to Central Park West. They will get the push notification, or they're tracking you. Now they know that you've gone from here to here, and now you're coming back down. So hopefully, you'll be here in a half hour, because again, text messages may not go through. You don't want to be wandering around. And always the big question that we get as coaches or around here is, when should I be doing my next race? When should I be go back into training again? You know, we always give the rule of thumb, you want to have recovery of a day of rest per mile raced. Now, that doesn't mean no running for 26 days, but maybe that first week, don't run. See how your body feels. Everybody will be a bit different. But again, if I'm looking down the road, you know, should I be looking at that December race, that January race? You already touched on the United Airlines NYC half, my personal favorite race that we have. So let's talk about that. I mean, it's tough because so many people, we get so tied up in having to do more and more and more, especially if you're a first timer.
It's so tough. I think there's a lot of things that go into this. And I think it really depends on your running history, your marathon history. How did you feel leading into this race? How did you feel during the race? How did you feel after? So I think a lot of those things are going to play a role here. I definitely am a firm believer of the 1 day of rest for every mile you raced. I love rest. I also don't want to get injured. And again, I think the biggest mistake that we make as runners is we want to run, and we don't want to rest. And most injuries that runners have are overuse injuries from not resting and not respecting the training and giving ourselves time to recover. I do think, you know, if you're a first-time marathoner, I think you might really want to stick to that. I think you can have a race planned, you know, maybe December, January, but maybe not another marathon, maybe not a half, maybe a shorter distance. I think you've got to see how you feel. I definitely do agree with probably not getting back out there and running again that first week. But again, if you're a really seasoned, experienced runner and marathoner, you may. I think you do have to see how you feel. I like to hop on my Peloton and spin a little bit. It's low impact. It gets me moving. I like to go for a walk. The first week, I do like to keep moving. Marathon Monday, I used to get in and walk all over. I felt better. You know, so I think this is tough because I think it depends on your running history. I think something in December, if it's a shorter distance, isn't out of the question, but you also got to see how you feel.
If it's January, February, that's fine too.
Yeah.
You do what's best. I mean, I was lucky enough to do some work with Meb a couple of years ago, and he shared this a great piece of wisdom from a guy who's won races, he's won medals, he's a seasoned runner. He says he wouldn't get back into training until he fell in love with running again. And I was like, such a unique way to look at, like, if you're not ready to go run, don't run.
Yeah.
You're actually making fitness gains in your recovery. I was working last night with our group trainers uptown, and a runner had taken like a week off. He's like, I feel so good tonight. And I'm like, wow, recovery helps. She's like, I know. Who would have thought? Yeah. Who would have figured, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it should be fun. We love, you know, we run because we love to run. So it shouldn't be forced. I think you've got to listen to your body, see how you feel, you know, and see how this race goes and see how that first week or so.
It's going to go amazing.
Race goes. But as we all do, you know, I've said it many times while I'm running the marathon, I'm never doing this ever again. And then I cross the finish line. I'm like, this is so amazing. I can't wait to do it again. So you know, it's a wave of emotions, but, you know, listen to your body, you know, do respect, you know, your body and take that time to rest and recover though.
I said that every time after every marathon, and somehow
ice is nice.
Get drawn back into this
wild
world. But hey, we're here, and I think we got more questions. What do we got for us?
All right. Well, first off, shout out to Marlene, who likes to wear the name on her shirt. So shout out Marlene. Woo. And then we have Alberto with United Mexican Runners as well. And then I have one more question that I think would be a great kind of way to end this. With the weather changing so much leading up to race day, any tips how to prepare?
I have Mother Nature on speed dial. She hangs up on me every time I call her. I'm doing my part for us runners because we are due for a good day. It's been a hot minute since we've had, wrong word to use there. It's been a little while since we've had a good marathon day. But I think as I did look at it, you've trained over 12, 16, 20 weeks. You've probably encountered just about every possible weather condition, whether you live in New York, whether you live in Florida, California, South America, Europe, Australia, wherever you're coming from, you have probably encountered it. I encourage runners to go back, look at their training, see, okay, on this day when I did this run, it was this temperature, what did I wear? How did I feel? We talked about hydration. It's important because you probably prepared in it, and now you're gonna have to do a marathon in it. So I always let runners know, just, you've done it, but can you do it on the day? And remember what you've done. Can we talk about nothing new? But again, it's, you know, that's the one thing that runners can't control as much as we try, and it's gonna be there, you know?
Yeah, I usually prepare for all weather types. I go in layers. I don't know if that helps, but I bring warm clothes, throwaway clothes to the start because it's probably going to be a bit cooler in the morning and you're kind of sitting around waiting. I do go in layers, and in the past I think I've worn like a long sleeve over a singlet with arm warmers, gloves, and then I do shed things along the way where I know family is going to be. So I'm a big fan of layers. I'm usually warm all the time. It can be 30 degrees out and I'm sweating, but that's me. Everybody's a little bit different. So I do know that I tend to be very, very warm. So that's why I go with layers. And I shed things when I see family. But, I do encourage to have something warm at the start that you can throw away and just keep an eye on weather. I mean, this is a tough one. We don't know, but we pray for good weather. Every year I've run, I think it's been like in the 50s. It's been nice and comfortable.
You are the good luck charm on the good days.
Yes.
Because usually we have I shed clothes, I shed hope, I shed dreams. I do not shed everything, folks. No, we make the best we can. But you're talking about wearing layers, and I do want to give a shout out to our timing team here at New York Roadrunners. They give us such good info. If you're going to be wearing multiple layers on the beginning of the race, you want to make sure that your bib is pinned to your innermost layer, the one that you will wear from start to finish, because that's where you want
I pin to my tights or my shorts. I avoid that.
Yeah, and our timing team
Ben's
doesn't
like, no.
love that idea because the timing devices are designed
Ben's
for the
like,
torso.
no.
I won't encourage it, but our timing team says chest, torso area is the preferred location besides the shorts and tights. You can do that, but because the timing teeth are actually up higher, so they read up here. And then
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's actually designed that way. That's why we encourage you to put them up here. And then if you are wearing layers, especially when you go through the start line, just lift up whatever layers you may have so the bib is fully exposed as you go through the timing mats. That's where you're guaranteed to hopefully have the read and having to read through multiple layers. Rain does actually cause an impact with that, especially with wet clothes. So you're making sure that as you go through the timing mats at the 5, the 10, the 15K markers, you lift up the old shirts to make sure you get the good read. And on the back of your bib is your emergency contact info. We touched on this earlier. Fill out the information of anybody that needs to be contacted in the rare occasion and unfortunate events where you do need to reach out to somebody, because that's what the medical team is going to be looking at to contact. They will look up your race bib number. They can find it that way, but possibly every second counts, and they want to let your loved ones know if you have a moment where they need to keep you, they need to come find you, please turn your bib over after you get it at the expo at the Jacob Javits Center, which happens to be October 31st through November 2nd. Come down and see us there. But fill out the information on the back of your bib because you definitely we don't want to use it, but if we do, we want to make sure that we can find your loved ones quickly and get you safely into their arms as need be. But if you have any more questions, are we good on questions? We are all good to go. We are done. I can't believe it. 11 days.
I know.
But 10 days for your 5K. The Abbott Dash to the finish. Awesome. You get to actually run through the same finish line that we get to.
Sure do.
And only have to do 5K.
Yes.
Infinitely jealous of that day. But runners, we are a week out. Next Thursday, the expo opens. Come back at the running lab. Our pace team is there. Our coaches are there. We'll be doing core strategies every hour on the hour. We will also have Spanish core strategies at noon on Friday and Saturday and 11 o'clock on Saturday. So if you want to come to our core strategies, pick up our pace bands, have everything. So after you get your bib, you go through the New Balance store, come see all of our vendors, come by the running lab, talk to us, get some last minute tips and tricks. There is no 10-day marathon training plan. I'm still trying to find it. I'd love it if I can invent one. It doesn't exist, unfortunately, folks. But please take care of yourself out there between now and then. Come see us at the expo. Have a great time. And we will see you at the start line, hopefully, but more importantly,
At the finish line.
have a great day, everybody.